Hello, and thanks for joining us today on CareConnections, a three-part webcast series where we have real talk on rare conditions. CareConnect PSS represents Sanofi Genzyme's 35-year commitment to the rare disease community. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm a CareConnect PSS Patient Education Liaison at Sanofi Genzyme. Today's topic will be on the transition of care, which can mean a few things. A person transitioning from pediatric to adult medical care, a person beginning to take more responsibility in managing their condition, or a person moving on from high school to college, working world, or out of their parents' house. Today we'll be joined by Michael and Brianne, two young adults living with a rare disease, and their mothers, Aimee and Jeannie. Let's get started. So to start things off, can each of you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Michael, I'm 20 years old from Rochester, New York, and I go to the University of South Carolina.
My name is Brianne. I'm 18 years old, and I'm originally from Florida, but I just moved to Alabama.
So today we are talking about the transition of care. So I want to start off by asking both of you the same question. What does taking ownership of your health mean to you?
Knowing what you need medically, being the spearhead to your doctors and your pharmacy, and just being responsible for your own care instead of leaning on people like your parents.
For me, it's like adulthood because when I walk in, I sign my name now and they give me the papers to fill out and stuff. And so it's really just stepping away from my parents doing everything for me.
Were you looking forward to going to college and becoming more independent?
I was. Obviously, there was a little apprehension because it's 13 hours drive at least from where I'm from, so that's pretty far if something goes wrong, but I was confident that I could handle myself.
How about you?
I was originally going to school in Florida, and my parents moved to Alabama, so I was 11 hours away, and I lasted 6 months, and then I moved back with them. But medically, it wasn't a problem, actually. Everybody was very accommodating, and the hospital was very good with the change of everything. But I missed them too much, and so I ended up moving back and switching to online classes.
It is a big transition.
Yes.
So at what age did you start taking on more responsibilities in managing your condition?
For me, it was just this year when I turned 18 because all of the doctors and all, they didn't turn to my parents. They were like, oh, for HIPAA laws and stuff. They were like, you have to sign away to make sure that your parents, and I was like, of course they can know things and all. But I started speaking up in the hospitals and stuff when I was 15. My dad was really good with telling us that, it's okay to say hey, I don't feel good or this isn't right and all.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same. Around 15 is kind of when I started speaking up to doctors, not letting my parents really speak for me. But when I went to college, which was 18, was when I personally started scheduling appointments and working with the pharmacy and stuff like that.
How do your parents still continue to provide help?
They'll kind of check in, see how everything's going, and I lean on them as an advisor, see kind of what their thoughts are, but I would say I still have the final say, but I like to get their opinion on what they think.
Yeah, mine's the same way. Even though I have the choice, I still lean on them for advice and what they would think because they've been dealing with this since I was 4, so they know better than I do.
What resources and support have you used to manage this transition?
Genzyme has helped me a lot, just kind of with setting up the initial appointments, what infusion center I was going to go to. My parents, I obviously still use a lot. And then the hospital from New York kind of has an app that I talk to my doctors with.
I still lean on my parents heavily, but at first they started saying, here's who you need to call, here's what you need to say, and so I would just do exactly what they said, and then now it's just natural, I just call them and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Genzyme has also helped because they have the Starting Your Journey booklets, and they sent all those to me, and then we have dinner with them occasionally, and they go over starting to take over my own insurance and stuff because I'm still under my parents, so they still handle most of that, but I'm slowly taking that over as well.
What concerns did you have when you were making the transition?
For me, it was that they wouldn't take me seriously because I never look my age and I'm always younger. So when I talk on the phone and stuff, I'm worried that they're going to be like, is your mom okay with this? And I'm like, I'm 18, I can decide. But they were actually very helpful with that. Everybody at the pharmacy, the hospitals, everything, they're very helpful in just saying, you can schedule your appointments, you can do this.
So what have you found the most challenging in terms of having a chronic illness and being a college student?
Me personally, I don't really try to air out everything I'm working with, so sometimes it's hard to kind of tell my friends, like, I don't want to do this, but I don't want to tell them that necessarily the whole story. I just don't like to drop kind of my problems on them like that. But I tell them enough, and some of my friends a lot, so that it's not an issue for them. But I would say that's the biggest problem for me.
What advice would you give to another teenager about making this transition?
I would just say that you have a voice, that you can speak up, because I was very timid in just, again, speaking to the doctors, and I don't know why I was afraid, because nothing ever came bad out of, speaking up, so.
I think my biggest advice would be, just because you're being responsible for it doesn't mean you have to lose your support system. For me, it was my parents. You can still lean on them quite heavily at times for decisions to help you make it, so you don't have to make any decisions alone, even though you're responsible for your own health.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any role models in your life?
Both my parents are my role models, yeah. They're just very hardworking and very selfless, and I'd like to model myself after them.
I agree. My parents are definitely my role models. Me and my little sister both have this disease, so they've been working since we were 4 years old on the hospital stuff and all the stuff that I'm learning now about how long it takes for the phone calls and insurance stuff and all. They've been doing that since we were little, and they just do it so gracefully. It never seemed to be a problem.
While we typically focus on the person transitioning when thinking about transition of care, it is also quite an adjustment for a parent or care partner who has been caring for the person his or her entire life. For any parent, it can be tough to let go. So I'm so glad you could both join me today. Let's start off by introducing yourselves.
I'm Jeannie, and I have 3 daughters. 2 who have a genetic illness. Brianne is my daughter, and we are from Alabama.
I'm Aimee. My son Michael has a genetic illness, and we are from upstate New York.
So how are you both supporting your children, Michael and Brianne, with learning to take ownership for themselves?
For us, the whole coming of age for her, turning 18, happened when we moved. She had no choice but to make some of those phone calls and stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of the roadblocks that we faced as she turned 18 was I would make a phone call and they would say, well, we need your daughter's permission. And so then I'd have to call her and she'd have to call them. And so slowly we made that transition of having her do those things.
Yeah, I completely agree. Once Michael turned 18, they shut you down. They won't talk to you anymore. They want to talk to him first. So it was a lot of advising him, like, okay, so these are the doctors, these are the phone numbers, these are the appointments you have scheduled. Make sure that you're reaching out to them. If he was having an issue, he typically would contact me and, what do I do? Well, this is how I would handle it, Mike. And so he picked up the ball and he ran with it, and he's doing a great job with it.
Well, how about before they turned 18? What did they start doing to get ready for that transition?
A lot of it was just making Mike be the point man at doctor's appointments and making sure that he was comfortable speaking to the doctor about any issues he was having or just the general maintenance of taking care of his disease.
I tend to answer for my child. I would always say, oh, well, this is going on with her, that's going on with her. And it just kind of slowly started to where she started to speak up for herself. And then I kind of just had to sit back and let her take charge.
It's hard.
It is hard.
What challenges have you both faced as parents during this transition?
So one of the challenges we faced was Michael was only 16 when he was diagnosed. So when he turned 18, aside from the insurance shutting us down and not talking to me anymore, he decided he wanted to go to school 13 hours away. That was a huge challenge for us, navigating not only his disease, but figuring out how we're going to get him treatment down there, what's the best way to do it, finding doctors, and we succeeded. He's down there, he's doing fantastic with it.
It's just a lot of changes.
Just a lot of changes in a short period of time, yes.
And how about with Brianne?
So with Brianne, the moving and turning 18 and starting a new job and having new insurance and all, those were the difficulties that we faced initially. And the fact that the insurance company overnight wouldn't talk to us. And we had to, give her a call. And so there was a lot of back and forth with phone calls and all. So it was really just the logistics of it all. There was more to it than I was expecting initially.
Is there anything that you wish you had known at that time that could have helped?
At first, I felt like we had to do it all on our own. I felt like I'm the mom and I have to take control of everything. And what we learned along the way that we had case managers, even with our insurance and with Santa Fe Genzyme. We had always had them, but I didn't utilize them as much as I needed to during this transition. With the moving and with new insurance and with her turning 18, they kind of held our hand more through that whole process. And so I wish I had known that that I could lean on other people more, and that my child had a stronger voice than I initially thought.
So what is one thing that maybe you're grateful for in this transitioning off to college?
I'm grateful for the confidence that it's given Michael. He's a much better advocate for himself than I was concerned at first that he would be. And it's just given him more confidence. And I think that it's shown him that it's going to be okay. You can have this disease and still have a full life. You can go to college 13 hours away, and you can navigate the doctors and the hospitals. And I think it's been a great experience.
What resources and support have you used during this transition?
I definitely use my case managers and my patient education liaisons. They are my first phone call, my first email if I have any stumbling block, especially when we were transitioning him down south. They were fantastic. They knew exactly what to do, who to call, who to reach out to help it all go smoothly.
Thank you so much, Michael, Brianne, Aimee, and Jeannie, for joining us today and sharing your stories with us. For more resources and support on the transition of care, check out the Journey Ahead program. Journey Ahead is a new resource from Santa Fe Genzyme designed to support each patient's unique journey as you transition to adulthood and take ownership of your own health care. Your CareConnect PSS case manager can provide insurance support and assistance with connecting to resources that can help you with out-of-pocket costs. Your CareConnect PSS patient education liaison can provide disease and treatment education. Whether your needs are large or small, your CareConnect PSS team is there to provide the support you need. To learn more about the range of support offerings and to contact your case manager, call 800-745-4447, option 3, or visit www.careconnectpss.com.